Hey guys, Rob from Epic Dungeon Tiles, and today I'm going to show you how to make these little farm fields. Pretty cool and really usable for like early on in a D&D campaign, and yeah, a couple of little different ways I do them. I think they'll be really useful. So let's have a look and see what we come up with. Okay, so this is the key structure to these farm fields. It's effectively these triangular pieces of polystyrene or expanded polystyrene. So effectively I just cut 16 of them, glue them down onto a piece of MDF, and then I just go over the top with some of this flexible caulk, acrylic caulking. I find this really useful. It works really well to sort of actually spread around and move. As long as you've got a base structure under it and that you're only applying a thin layer, it works really good. If you're trying to do something a little thicker with it, that's when you tend to get in trouble a little bit, because it doesn't kind of mold like clay and stuff, but it's so cheap and it worked really well for these. I'm really pleased. Yeah, so that's them done, and effectively just pour over a load of PVA glue and then pour sand on them. And doing them as one board made it really easy, even though I sort of wasted a little bit of material. And then just cut them into shape. Effectively, I just cut this a few times, just down the middle. And then I just fold it to break it in half. As long as you cut enough, it shouldn't sort of create any tears. Yeah, and there we go, nice clean cut. Then I did the same with this and just cut down the other way just to get the 4 squares, and then I just rounded it with a scalpel. And it's so easy to do, make those MDF bases. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm just adding a couple of little things on there. I've got these tiny little 3D printed crates that I printed ages ago, and some bigger stones, and then some of those smaller stones that I used on the fence tutorial as well. These bigger stones just help to break things up a little bit, and I think it's the sort of thing where if they're farming, potentially they would have moved those bigger stones outside of the sort of farming area, so just to the outer edge. So that's why you might find a couple of them clustered. And then I just paint them with that sort of reddy brown colour again, just to match the fences. This reddy brown's really thick, so I didn't bother with a black base coat. And here you can see where I've dried brushed the lighter tan colour, and it really brings out that detail. It really starts to look like soil. Now this is the tedious bit, and I decided to try a different technique halfway through because it did take so long. But effectively I just cut out all these little pieces of card, and then I just cut the corners off the edges, off of one edge. So you can see here, you can just see that where I'm just cutting those corners off, just slightly rounding them to effectively create like little leaves that I'm going to use to make the crops. They actually turned out really well. I really like them. They look really cool. They just take a while to make, and I'm not sure if they look that much better than the other techniques I used. So I'm just using some gel super glue and some tweezers just to place that in, if you can see around my head. So I'm just placing that in with the tweezers. It's a lot easier with the tweezers than trying to sort of get your fingers and thumbs in the way. So this is the next technique I used, which is this vine stuff from Mini Nature, and it's really nice. It's a little bit expensive. It's not expensive for what it is, but it's expensive if you use it like how I've used it. But effectively you just cut a strip of it and then super glue it on, and you end up with a really cool looking like row of crops, or sort of, I don't know, vineyard or strawberries, something like that. It just looks really, yeah, really cool. You can see when they're all finished. This one is probably my favourite, but that's a lot. That's going to cost, you know, not a huge amount. It's not crazy, but to make 4 of these, you're probably looking at, I don't know, like £12 just for that grass, when you could just cut out a piece of card and it looks pretty good. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is I obviously painted the rocks grey and dry brushed the rocks grey along with the grass as well. Sorry, not the grass, the soil. I'm just struggling trying to glue this on at the moment. I think when I pick it up to show you, you can see that it's just wobbling all over the place. But it works out really well, really cool, really pleased with it. The next thing, obviously, after this is to try another technique as well, because I didn't want to use all of that vine that I have. I wanted to save it for some other projects in the future. You can see just off to the left how many of those cardboard things I had to cut out just for one of these fields. I did 2 of them in the end, and after the second one I was like, I need to try something else. This is getting a little bit boring. So he's finally done it. So you can see now when I pick it up, it's a little bit wobbly still. I should have waited. You can see that one at the back, or at the front. There you go. So the next technique I try, I think I saw from Terrain Tutor, which is just doing grass tufts. And I got some of these, so I thought I'll give that a try, see how that works. I really like it. It's a really good technique. It looks really good. For being cheap, obviously the card's the best, but I think the nicest technique in terms of looks, if I could do all of them, would be the mini nature kind of vine. That just turned out really nice. I think it would have helped as well if I had some nicer grass tufts, but I've got these like wiry swamp tufts, and they're good for swamps, but they're not very uniform and they're not very green. Would have preferred them to look a little bit greener for the farmland. But it turned out really nice. The next thing we've got to do is add some of this clump foliage. So I skipped this bit a little bit in the fence tutorial, but effectively it's just using the clump foliage from Woodland Scenics. And it's just like a big green sponge effectively, but it's very fine and it's got like bits with it. So you just tear off a bit, put a bit of PVA glue on, then just push it onto the piece that you're making. And I'd probably skip painting the leaves as well. But so the sort of second from last part of this, I guess, before we add any more kind of colour to it, is to just add on some static grass. So all I do here is I just apply some sort of glue, fairly thick. I don't worry about putting it on too sparingly. And then I just move it around with the brush, and I use a soft brush to do that, to make sure if I knock anything I won't move it. And I'm using my static grass applicator, which I've found off eBay, which is really cool. Effectively all you do is you just put well, the easiest way, it comes with a crocodile clip, but you don't have to use the crocodile clip. What I find is the easiest way to do it is to use a pin, and then you just poke the pin sort of into it, turn it on, and then just shake over the top of it, and then you'll get a pretty cool static grass look. The only thing you might find sometimes is sometimes the pin likes to pick up the grass, so you can see how it's got all the like almost like a little grass tuft on it, so it does pick up the grass sometimes, which is a little bit annoying, but it's better than the crocodile clip though. The crocodile clip basically takes out a whole chunk of glue, so just poke it in and then shake it over the top. My hand there looks like some kind of creature out of the Monster Manual. I've got like flexible thumbs. So that's that done, and then you just shake off the excess. I think I might have waited a couple of hours before I did this, because obviously if I start shaking off those grass tufts, they're just going to fall off. But it looks really cool. I'm really pleased with it. There's so much detail to them. Hopefully my players appreciate it. And then the final thing we're going to do, which I skipped a little bit in the fence tutorial again because I keep losing video, is just add some of these flower tufts. Just a tiny little bit of colour makes a big difference. Otherwise you've just got a lot of green and brown, but actually adding a bit of yellow or red or even white flowers, all of those just make it look really cool. And here they are finished. So this is the card one, and I actually really like it. I think it looks really cool. It's just a bit of a pain to make. And there's all three of them. Really pleased with them. They just, yeah, they look really nice. You can see that actually on the on three of them I've not put the static grass on yet, so it's just a comparison with the bottom right, which I think looks really cool. And there they are with the fence posts, so you can see how the theme all fits together, the same browns, the same static grass, the same sort of clump foliage. So that's a set of terrain which I can just use on a grass mat. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials in the future. I'm probably going to be on a little bit of a break until the new year, so you might see a couple of videos, but likely not. But yeah, hope you enjoyed these ones, and see you again soon.